Just sell me the wine. Some excellent wine photography for your desktop. And wine may kind of, sort of, maybe, probably, most likely, but we're not sure be good for you yet again. Or not. We'll discuss. All that and more on this episode of This Week Uncorked. It is the last episode of 2024. I hope everybody had a good Christmas. This is episode 24, fitting last episode of 2024 of This Week Uncorked for Monday, December 30th, 2024. So a lot of 24s in this sentence. It's our last show of the year. I'm Brett Martin from Corkage, your number one source for Corkage fees, wine reviews, restaurant reviews, and more. And with that, let's get right on into this week's wine news. So over at the Robb Report, there's just, I love this article. It's by Mike DeSimone and Jeff Jensen, and they're the Onophiles, and they basically have this great newsletter that they put out. And from that newsletter, they are tired of allocations. So if you don't know, a lot of wineries, you go there, you want to buy their wines, but you can't. They're like, get on a list. There's a famous one, name escapes me, out of Paso, got some amazing absolute wines. I'm on their allocation list to try to get their wines. They're telling me it's going to be about 4 years before I'll actually be allowed to even get an allocation. You know, SOMM, you look at them, you can get right on their allocation list, no problem at all. So it depends, but you just can't go buy the wines. You got to go apply. It's like this little secret thing, like maybe we'll sell you the wine, maybe will you be lucky enough to get some wine? Anyway, they've had it. They just want to be able to go buy a bottle of wine online, not be notified when it's in stock, not let club members know when it's available. Anyway, funny article, well written, and I suggest you check it out. And then moving on to something completely different, over at Food and Wine magazine, they say Armenia is producing some of the world's most interesting wines. We agree. And then it says, if you can find them. I don't know if that was a little clickbaity thing or like, oh, it's interesting wines. If I can find them, how do I find them? You can find them. You just go over to Storica Wines. We've talked about them in the past. I've got a lot of Armenian wines. We've got this Zulal Voskehat grape. This is another one. This is a Noah Arena grape. These are all from Armenia. They're all from the same region, Vayats Zor. I think it's how it's pronounced, DZOR. There's some great wines at a great price point and well worth checking out. I mean, you know, from the article, they talk about how Armenia became part of the Soviet Union in 1922. Winemaking shifted to collective farming, and the grapes were sold basically for brandy and dessert wine production. But some older vineyards, often at high elevation, were left uncultivated, and they were spared for new generations to come and revive them as they became the Republic of Armenia. We've talked about SOMM TV before. We're going to talk about here in a little bit. They've got one of their movies, Cup of Salvation, covers the war that went on, the winemakers in Armenia, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, there are some great wines. If you haven't tried them, they're not a sponsor, but I do like them. Head over to Storica Wines and pick up some Areni grape varietal wines. They're great. It's a red wine like you've never had, but it's just delicious. So give it a shot. And with that, let's talk about our sponsor right now. That is SOMM TV. We love these guys. We actually don't make any money. We're just promoting them and pushing them over. Jason Wise founded this thing. I had a phone call with him. I said, Jason, let's plug some of your stuff over on This Week Uncorked. He said, sure. And he gave us a 50% discount off your monthly subscription. If you don't know, SOMM TV is just an amazing little application. You got your Apple TV, your Roku, whatever you've got, you download SOMM TV. You got hundreds and hundreds of hours of content, movies, originals, about regions, wine cellars, bottle tasting, you name it. If it has to do with wine, they probably have a show around it or a movie around it or a series around it, and it's really well worth checking out. I love it. Pop in there every week. There's always something new usually, and if not, I'll maybe go rewatch something that I watched before because I found it so interesting. But we're checking out, like I mentioned, Cup of Salvation. That's on there. That's a whole movie about Armenian wines, and it didn't start off that way, but that's where it went. And I think we've talked about it too, where they smuggled grapes out of Iran into Armenia to make this Molana wine, which is just fabulous as well. So whole bunch of great stuff over there on SOMM TV. So be sure to check it out. And with that, let's continue on with the news. I really don't have a news story here, but it's a really, really cool website called Vinography. It's a Vinography, a wine blog. But what he's got besides just your general wine blog, and his blogs are very good as well, is he has an entire section. This is Alder Yarrow. He founded this thing in 2004. He's got really cool desktop images. So it's basically under his images section. He's like, hey, if you want to download this and use it as your wallpaper on your desktop, feel free to. Just right click on it, download. It's a high res image. And there are just dozens and dozens of really cool images on this website. I stumbled across it, thought I would share it with everyone here. So if you can, head over to Vinography. Vinography. I don't know how I pronounce this. I'm going with Vinography. Trips off the tongue better than Vinography. But anyway. All right. And with that, the lead story here, wine may not be good for you. Well, now the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine, this report kind of leaked out a little early, but now it's out there. So every 5-10 years or whatever, the U.S. comes and says, is alcohol good? Let's establish dietary guidelines. I think now it's like a man moderate drinking is 2 drinks a day, a woman's 1 drink a day, and they try to establish that. Is wine good for you? Is wine bad for you? You have the French paradox where, hey, if you drink red wine, it's great for you, but you can't really get enough resveratrol. So what is it? Is it lifestyle? Is it diet? Why do the Italians live so long drinking red wine? But, then a lot of studies that say any alcohol, zero, any one tiny little bit of alcohol is bad for you, and you shouldn't have any alcohol whatsoever. And they really don't distinguish normally between spirits and fermented, such as wine and beer, distilled spirits. But anyway, this report really hedges its bet and says that there is a moderate certainty that people who drink alcohol in moderation have a lower all-cause mortality than those who don't. So all causes of mortality, death taken in together, you potentially have a slightly lower chance you'll live longer, maybe, sort of, because it's only a moderate certainty that may be the case. But hey, cheers to that. That's super good news for anybody who, every time they pick up a glass of wine, go, this stuff's killing me. Now you can say, hey, this stuff might be good for me. Keep hope alive, whatever you want to believe. Santa Claus, doesn't matter. Anyway, with that, let's move on to our wine and winery of the week. All right, we are heading over to Los Olivos, California, to Santa Barbara County, to the Fess Parker Winery and Vineyard. It's actually on Fox and Canyon Road. I don't know if it's really in Los Olivos. I think maybe it is, that little section there. Anyway, if you go into Solvang, you can do the Fox and Canyon Trail and go ahead and check out Fess Parker Winery. It is a fantastic place. We visited there many times. Actually had a birthday party there. And this last time we were there was with old Rex Pickett from Sideways fame, Rex Pickett 10 at rexpickettbook.com to get a discount there. And he was doing the 20th anniversary of Sideways. In that movie, Fess Parker was called Frass Canyon, and they kind of relabeled it. There's a whole bunch of stories. And if you watch our blind tasting of Merlot with Rex, you'll get the story on that. But I've always enjoyed it. A lot of people think it's commercial. A lot of people don't particularly care for their wines. I think we talked about the Fess Parker Crockett, which was just outstanding wine that we had, we reviewed recently. And I just think that it's good stuff all the way around and worth giving it a try. I mean, the tasting room is beautiful. They've got beautiful tours. You can't go wrong if you're driving down Fox and Canyon, making your way up through Andrew Murray and all of the other beautiful vineyards that are up in there. It's a lovely way to spend your day. So that's the Fess Parker Winery and Vineyard over in Santa Barbara County, just outside of Solvang. Be sure to check that out. And with that, let's talk about our wine of the week. We're going to go with the 2020 Zulal Voskehat. This one, we gave it 89 points. It's a good wine. But it's $20 a bottle. It's a white wine. The grape, it's just you can't go wrong with this. When we talk about these wines, we've talked about them earlier. That's why I'm doing that as the wine of the week. It's a darn good wine for a really, really low price point, and just a very approachable, a bit fruity, a little minerality, some nice little floral notes. This goes good with anything, with any seafood, anything like that. So, it's a lesser known white wine. You're bored of your Chardonnay, you're bored of your Sauvignon Blanc, your Pinot Gris. Give this a try. Why not? What have you got to lose? And with that, let's go to our restaurant and Corkage of the week. All right, last week we were in Cartagena, and this week we're going to Cleveland. Yes, Michelangelo's restaurant in Cleveland, Ohio. It's in Cleveland's historic Little Italy neighborhood, and Michelangelo stands out. It's just authentic, real Northern Italian cuisine, owned by, Michael Andonono, who's the executive chef, one of Cleveland's best little dining destinations. And if you haven't been, if you find yourself on a trip to Cleveland, maybe you're going to go visit the Rock and Roll Museum. I think it's there. Maybe you're hoping to wander around town and see if you run into Drew Carey. It could happen. You never know. But anyway, that is Michelangelo's. As you can see from the pictures, just amazing food, amazing dining experience. Absolutely fantastic. Tina went there with her aunt. They had a lovely time. And they, unfortunately, no corkage allowed, but the wine list was very, very well priced in Cleveland, and food was outstanding. So if you're in Cartagena and you're like, where do we go next? Well, let's get on a plane and fly into Cleveland. Those are logical transitions. You just go from one to the other, and there you go. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of This Week Uncorked, the last episode of the year. As always, we would love it if you would subscribe on our YouTube channel and follow us on social media. Until next year, cheers, everyone.